So thank you for a generous introduction. It's an extraordinary pleasure to welcome back to the JFK Junior Forum Eric Schmidt, our colleague and friend, for a discussion of Henry Kissinger and AI and the future. As you can see here, this picture of Eric and Henry, they were best friends, late developing friendship, but became very deep friendship, in which Eric was generously the tutor for a 95-year-old Henry Kissinger, who discovered AI hanging around the end of a lecture that he had given when Demis Hassib was beginning to talk about AI, and Henry decided he needed to learn about this. He called me up. I told him, Henry, forget about it. You don't have any background in science and technology. I told him, actually, you don't know the difference between a chip and a potato chip. He said, that's true, but Eric has promised to teach me. So we're very pleased to have him here. We had him here last year. This is actually, maybe it will become an annual tradition. Henry passed 2 years ago last week. So he was 100 years old. To think of such an amazing life over that century. He was a person who made a huge difference in America's national security and the world, and made a huge difference in the lives of many, many people, some of whom began as his students, some who became as his tutors, and many others. So Eric has been introduced. I would just remind you a couple of things. I would say first that Eric was the chief executive who took Google from a cause to one of the great companies of the world. And that's a pretty amazing thing. Secondly, early on, he had identified AI as an arena of the future. And at Google, essentially bought up all the super talent in the world that he could find, including DeepMind, which was actually the company that then brought to Google Demis Hassib, who got the Nobel Prize last year for his work at Google on protein. Mustafa Suleyman, who's now running Microsoft's consumer AI, was another part of the acquisition, and many others. So the other thing to say about Eric and why it's such a pleasure to have him here is that if one tries to make any sense of all the claims that are being made about AI, most of the people who talk loudest are talking their own book. So when I listen to Sam Altman or to folks at Anthropic or at folks, even Mustafa now at Microsoft, they have to talk their companies.
But you're holding my book.
Well, wait a second. They have to talk their company's, business, their future. And they are chasing what they believe is the biggest pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that there's ever been. So it's pretty hard to tell what they actually think and what they're saying. Eric has kind of graduated to be the statesman in this domain, having had a big stake in it, but now having standing back, and particularly after his work with Henry, basically trying to say things as clearly as he can and as clearly as he can see them. So I take him to be a much more valuable source of clues about what's happening than listening to most of the people who are talking their own books. So let's start with Henry, and then we're going to go to AI, and then we'll go to questions in the audience.